Hello, this is On Imagination with Shifting Perspectives and the Healing Garden. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been something I have been analyzing for a very long time, and I am so thrilled that I finally it clicked. There is this concept of makeup sex, and I've been going, what's the psychology of it? Why do we do it? This is why we do it. When you have an argument with a spouse, this is how it's supposed to go. You have a conflict, and then you discuss it. Pang opens and it flows. And then through the pang, we achieve something called vulnerability. And then there is connection with the person who you now are sharing sadness with. You feel closer. You feel safer. And then things between you are a little bit better than before. That is intimacy. Makeup sex gets the intimacy temporarily without any of the actual work. You bypass the bonding, the human connection, and the healing by going to makeup sex. So that's been 2 minutes. I think we're done here. I really don't have anything else to say. That is it. Yep, it's logical and it checks out. This is going to be the shortest video ever. I'm just running it through. Vulnerability is sharing sadness, sharing pain. That is vulnerability. And when you take that time to comfort each other within that space, intimacy is the result. It is extraordinary. And someone at some point figured out that by having sex, you bypass all of that. That you can get right to the sex. It's that instant gratification again. You can go right to the sex and everything feels better. But because you haven't actually done any of the work, because you haven't actually healed, you haven't discussed and resolved the problem, you haven't done any of the work. Because you bypassed all of that, the problem just gets buried under the false intimacy. So makeup sex is actually horribly toxic in a relationship. That's why problems pile up. It's because when there's a problem, you just have sex. You are using sex as an avoidant for handling conflict properly. Don't do it. Ironically, now this is what my partner and I do. We go through this process. He, from day one, said, no makeup sex. Now, he's an 8th perspective. And where I was at that time, I was a 6th perspective, and I didn't understand him. I couldn't understand it. And I could not understand it until today. Finally, I've been monitoring this in us for, oh my God, a year now, where I sit down and I document and I notice every time we have a fight. And then I pulled it apart and, not a fight, an argument. We don't fight. And then I pulled it apart and located all of the process, the psychological process. And then when I did that, I realized, and this was all done without sex. Now, in all my relationships prior to this one, there was makeup sex, but there was only makeup sex. And this is, without a doubt, the healthiest relationship I've ever been in. It's extraordinary. It's absolutely extraordinary. Like I could spend an entire lifetime just analyzing the psychology of our relationship and just go, wow. It's birthed completely out of the 8th perspective. So it's 100% stripped of all fourth perspective material. There's no patriarchy in our relationship at all. We don't call it a relationship. It's an alignment, not a relationship. It's an alignment. We are not dating. We are not boyfriend and girlfriend. We are not partners. We are aligned. I'm a single and he's a single and we are single together, but we're aligned. We are interdependent. And we don't have any names for each other. I call him something that's between us. Wow. Look at that. Eighth perspective relationships. It's not about putting a label for status on another person to flaunt in front of people. It's private and it's intimate and it's between the two of you. And his name, his alignment name, is my precious gift for him. Interesting. Wow, this is really interesting. This is extraordinary. In the eighth perspective, our alignment is about he and I, and it's private. It's not about who's married to who's dating what. We flaunt our relationships like status symbols. The fourth perspective does. It's part of how much clothes you wear, what brands you wear, what car you drive. Are you married? Do you have a relationship? Oh, you don't? What's wrong with you? See how we do that? See how we do that. But when we got to the eighth perspective, all of the words didn't work anymore. So we had to invent our own. So he and I have an alignment, not a relationship. And I am not single. He is not single. We are not. All of these labels. Single means that you can become unsingle. See, it doesn't work. That's the problem with the word single, is it implies that it's a temporary status and it can change. But in our perspective, it's stationary. I'm an individual, and so is he. And we are two individuals with an alignment. I don't have a marital status or a non-marital status. Isn't it interesting that we use the word status and no one notices? Think about it. Right in front of our faces. What is your status? How far beneath my feet should you be? Or how far beneath your feet should I be? That is status. That is exactly what status is. Yeah, it's ugly, isn't it? Welcome to the hierarchy. The hierarchy stops existing when you cross to the seventh. Minds don't think that way. I could be aligned to other people as well. We're all part of the same song. He could be aligned to other people. There's no jealousy. I get pleasure off of his pleasure. That's it. There's no ownership. And believe you me, from somebody who lived 40 years a slave, I know the difference between freedom and enslavement. That's what I teach people, is to learn the difference between enslavement and freedom, so you can recognize when you're not being free. Really? It's the real freedom. They're talking about all this bullshit about fighting for our freedom across the country, across the pond. And they're enslaved in their own homes, terrorized by husbands who beat them for being different, forced to wear masks and conform to a clothing and a lifestyle and a religion that your parents said you have to have or else. You're not free. That's not freedom. Freedom is choice without consequence. That's freedom. Freedom is living without consequence. I love days like today. Days like today, I just get epiphany after epiphany, and they don't stop. I'm going to go ahead and shut it down because I'm at 10 minutes, and I just crammed a shit ton in 10 minutes. If you love shit like this, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want more shit like this, where you get daily self-care regimen reminders and walkthroughs, subscribe to my amphitheater below. And if you cannot get enough shit like this, become a member of the Healing Garden. Start with your design journey plan below, and at least make sure that your healing plan hits all 10 major points of the optimum mental wealth. Are you healing all of you or a fraction of you? Find out. Thank you so much, and may the kindest of words always find you.